Hello and welcome to the in-depth series of Drishti IAS. My name is Pooja Dwivedi and today we are going to discuss the site Lothal. As the Prime Minister of India has taken into account the progress with respect to National Maritime Heritage Complex, we will discuss Lothal in that context only. From the perspective of prelims, it's important. The historical facts are important, of course. And from the perspective of GS Mains Paper 1, you have to understand that this particular topic is going to be of significance. These are the many topics that we are going to discuss. Let's start with National Maritime Heritage Complex. The project with respect to National Maritime Heritage Complex was started in the year 2022 in the month of March. And it is one of its kind project, very different. What does it want to do? It wants to display India's rich and diverse maritime heritage, that is the port city of Lothal, and also help it to emerge as world-class international tourism site. And as a consequence of that, economic development of the region will also occur because more and more investment will be there, as well as development of hotel industry, guiders, and many other things. The project cost is around rupees 3,500 crore. Let us move ahead and talk about the features of the complex. It will try to recreate Harappan architecture and lifestyle. 4 theme parks will also be there by the name of Memorial Theme Park, Maritime and DV Theme Park, Climate Theme Park, and Adventure and Amusement Theme Park. It will also boast of world's tallest lighthouse museum and 14 galleries highlighting India's maritime heritage starting from the Harappan times till now will also be there. Coastal States Pavilion displaying diverse maritime heritage of states and union territories among others, because Lothal is the oldest port city of India. Now, if we talk about the Indus Valley Civilization, we have to understand this is also known as the Harappan Civilization. It goes back to 12,500 BC, mainly spanning in the western parts of South Asia, in present day, northwestern India, and of course, Pakistan. And this was the largest of the 4 ancient urban civilizations by the name of China, Mesopotamia, Egypt, as you can see with the help of this particular diagram. So China, Indus Valley Civilization, Mesopotamia, Egypt civilization, it was the largest of the ancient, earliest 4 civilizations. Also, it started all with Alexander Cunningham, but he did not understand the significance of this region when he started excavation, although it wasn't in extensive manner. But in the 1920s, Mohenjo-daro and Harappa started coming to the fore when extensive excavation started taking place. With respect to first site that was excavated, that was Harappa. And of course, we have to understand that Harappa was excavated by Dr. Sahni. Then comes Mohenjo-daro. Mohenjo-daro was just after Harappa. And Mohenjo-daro was discovered by Rakhaldas Banerjee in the year 1922. Now here we are going to discuss Lothal. Other important sites that we have to understand from the perspective of examination is Dholavira, which is the UNESCO World Heritage Site. And also in 1924, after the excavation took place and people started knowing that it's such a significant civilization, John Marshall, who was the DG of Archaeological Survey of India back then, announced the discovery of the new civilization in the Indus Valley. Okay, moving ahead, let's talk about other important facts about it. Now, the early Harappan phase, it's related to the Hakra phase because it was near the Hakra River Valley, and the Indus script dates back to 3000 BC, although it is not deciphered as of yet. It showed that back then there was a centralized authority because of the uniformity that existed, and there was an increasingly urban quality of life. People lived as they are living in the urban areas right now. 𝐾𝐲 represents the phase leading up to mature Harappan phase, and by 2600 BC, the Indus Valley civilization had entered a mature stage. Moving ahead, let's talk about the biggest sites of Harappan civilization. First is Mohenjo-daro, second is Harappa, then we have Ganveriwala. All these 3 are in Pakistan. In India, the biggest site is Rakhigarhi and then Dholavira. These two are in India. Haryana, Rakhigarhi is in Haryana, and Dholavira is in Gujarat. Moving ahead to the next important topic, that is Lothal. Lothal was discovered by S.R. Rao, and this was discovered post-independence from 1950s to 60s, and it is one of the southernmost sites of you can say Harappan Valley civilization in India. It is situated in the Bhal region of what is now in the state of Gujarat. Lothal is basically made of Loth and S Thal. In Gujarati, it is the mound of the dead, which Mohenjo-daro in Sindhi is known as the mound of the dead. And it dates back to 2200 BC. It was a thriving trade center in ancient times. The trade took place between the earliest civilizations with respect to Lothal in beads, gems, ornaments, which reached West Asia and Africa. So India had trade relations so many centuries back, you can say, with respect to Lothal. Moving ahead, now excavation 1950s to 1960s as it took place by S.R. Rao. Lothal had the world's earliest known dock where ships could dock it themselves, connecting the city to an ancient course of the Sabarmati river. Remember this prelims fact. And how do we know that this area was flooded with water? Because of the marine microfossil and salt that is present, as well as gypsum crystals at the site. A mound is present, a township is present, and marketplace and the dock. So mound, township, marketplace and dock, these were discovered later on, but dock was discovered, you can see, with respect to heritage value. Heritage value, why we are discussing it? Because India wants Lothal to be a part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site. There is only one UNESCO World Heritage Site with respect to Harappa, that is in India, that is Dholavira. So Lothal was nominated in April 2014, okay, and it is in the tentative list also. This excavated site of Lothal is the only port town of the Indus Valley civilization. That is the heritage value. A metropolis with an upper and a lower town. There is an upper and a lower town, and it had on its northern side a basin with vertical wall, inlet and outlet channels, which has been identified as a tidal dockyard. So why is it a dockyard? Because of this very reason. All right. Moving ahead. Now the river channel would have brought in considerable volume of water during high tide, and that filled the basin and facilitated the boats upstream, because that is not the case right now. Remains of stone anchors, marine shell ceilings that go back to the Persian Gulf has indicated that trade relations were there. And structure is there is a structure that is identified as a warehouse, like we generally have in the port cities, that is also found in Lothal. And if we talk about how they are very similar with respect to other sites, why Lothal is of heritage value? Because it's similar as Delha of Peru, Ostia, that is port of Rome, and Carthage, port of Tunis in Italy. 𝐏𝐻𝐻 in China, Canopus in Egypt, and Gebel, that is Babylon of the Phoenicians, Jaffa in Israel, Ur in Mesopotamia, Hoi An in Vietnam, and Indus port town of Balakot in the southern region, South Asia region, Khirasa in Gujarat's Kutch, and Kuntasa in Rajkot. Okay. Moving ahead, if we talk about the other sites with respect to UNESCO World Heritage Site, India has 40. Dholavira was the 40th. Cultural sites are 32. Then we have natural sites as 7, and mixed is 1, that is the Kanchenjunga. If we talk about the cultural heritage site, Dholavira is a part of the cultural heritage site only. With respect to Dholavira, when it became the 40th UNESCO World Heritage Site, India became a part of the Super 40, those countries which have 40 UNESCO World Heritage Site in their countries. So urban settlements in South Asia, if we talk about Dholavira, it has urban settlements in South Asia. It was discovered in 1968 by Jagat Patit Joshi. So remember this. All right. Moving ahead, if we talk about Dholavira, it is situated on the Tropic of Cancer. Remember that. Tropic of Cancer. And it has many features such as cascading series of water reservoirs. Outer fortification is also there. 2 multi-purpose grounds are there, 9 gates with unique designs. Funerary architecture is there, which features tumulus hemispherical structure like the Bodhi brick, like the Buddhist stupas. Moving ahead, let's talk about other important sites of Indus Valley civilization. In Gujarat, Rangpur, that is on the bank of Bhadar River in Surendranagar. Rojdi, that was the first ever site to be excavated in Gujarat of IVC. Prabhas, which is near Veraval in Gir Somnath district, and Lakhabawal in Jamnagar, and Desalpur, that is in Bhuj. Alright, now let's talk about the question that you have to solve. Which of the following was designated as the 39th UNESCO World Heritage Site in India? Ramappa Temple, Dhoravira, Lothal, and Rani Ki Vav. You have to answer it correctly. That's it. Thank you so much for watching.